And no whistling.
I tend to appreciate some whistling.
Okay, bring the microphones closer to your mouth.
No.
Yes. Now.
Don't. Stop.
Who are you?
We'll do the announcements. If you guys have come to the content and zone design panel, you're in the right place. If you're here for systems, that was an hour ago or next hour. And for introductions, I'm Jonathan Carricker. I'm Franklin. I've been working at SOE since 2002. Oh my God.
My name is Paul Molina. I'm crawling on the forums. I do content for storyline and stuff.
Yay!
I'm not impressed.
My name is Nathan McCall. I'm known as K Theo on
Yeah!
I tend to have a little fan group there. They're because of live events is what I do. Live events and quests.
I'm Carlos Mora, a ninja on the boards. Mechanics and some content in this art.
Okay, so to get started, we're going to talk about EverQuest content and zone design. We're going to start off by talking about something that was announced yesterday. We are revamping Freeport. So for starters, we're going to take the zones, the North Freeport, South, West, and East. And thankfully, the artists created these in such a way that it's like a jigsaw puzzle. They already fit together. So it was already set up in such a way where it was really easy to kind of combine these. And
Like that. Now we need to start slide.
F5.
There we go. F5.
How many computer geeks does it take to make it? So we're going to take these four zones, the north, south, east, and west, and create a hub out of these and combine these into one contiguous zone. And from the art perspective, this has both been a benefit and a hassle. They've had to go through and make sure that like from this part of the zone you can't see across to see the water. That there's portals set up in such a way that you can't render too much of the screen to bring your computer straight into a hole.
They did also open up quite a few different walkways, so you'll find a lot more entrances from one used to be old area to another. So even travel through the city should be easier.
So for starters, lore-wise, Lucan has returned to Freeport. So he's come back following his capture. He's found the city in all-out civil war. There's the four main factions, the four main houses are warring against each other. The city's sort of fallen into disrepair, even more so than it has already. And he's ousted his betrayers. He's cleaning house, and he's going to bring about a new reign in Freeport. Before we go into too many details for Freeport, though, we're going to go into the explanations of how you make a zone in EQ2.
So we've got the list there. This is very basic, little few bullet points there, but from concept and then documentation to the implementation, which looks like one step, but that's a really big step. And then revision. So there we've got a bird's eye view of the zone. I believe that one's Great Divide. And you can see, as we've got some of the quest camps are marked out in number. We're trying to map out the progression there. And then you've got also the level range or difficulty that's coming into it. So it's just an illustration to show how we've been trying to plan these things out. So quests coincide with the difficulty of the zones. Next, we've got the fleshing out the points of interest, and we describe the inhabitants, and we put these details onto a document so that the artists then can read what we've got planned, get a better idea of the kind of environment that we would like to have supporting the story.
And artists take that. Artists are designers as well. They tell stories as well. So as long as the stuff is fleshed out really well, they can take our ideas and a lot of times make them better. And and they actually come back sometimes with some pretty amazing stuff.
And we'll go back and forth with them where they say, oh, well, I want to put this in. And oh, that would be awesome. Oh, well, then I'll make a quest. And we'll do,
It's usually improvement, not like deathmatch.
You can see this one has got a concept, a picture from EverQuest 1 Belly, so we were bringing back some of the same kind of visuals.
Then comes the challenging, long task of implementation. So that's when we're putting it all together. We're actually using the tools. We're in the zone, a rudimentary form of the zone, but still, nonetheless, there. And using our tools to actually put down NPCs, to make the quests, to write the dialogue, and the plethora of scripting.
So there's that final step of revision.
So then we get all sorts of changes that we want to do. And these changes are based upon bugs, they're based upon feedback. Thank you, test server. Thank you, beta. A lot of good things are changed because of that. So it's amazingly good. Internal play tests. Recently, we've been doing a lot more internal play tests, just so that even before it goes to the test server, we have other sets of eyes. As I'm sure you all know, if you're looking at something that you worked on, you're not likely to find those weak points yourself. But the person next to you, they might be able to point it out. Get another set of eyes, it's great.
We just did like the Leapers and Gliders quest, and so a lot of designers went through and provided feedback, and like did a lot of it, which I appreciate. Thank you. And so that type of process only makes the content better once it goes in.
Of course, maybe there's not always agreement as to what to do, what changes to put in. We have to settle those out in the parking lot.
Or Nerf guns.
Yeah, we do have Nerf guns. There's always Nerf gun fire shooting across the office. Okay, so to return to the topic of Freeport, so we started out by kind of looking at the zone as it is now and sort of like exploring what is going on in Freeport, why do people go there, if at all, and what can we do to change that. So if you go into Freeport right now, and you're in any given zone, odds are you're probably one of the only people there, and that's sad. So the places where you can probably find players right now are in the current expansion. A lot of them are probably in guild halls between doing stuff. They're probably following the golden path, or in one of the starting zones if they're leveling up. So we need to provide some sort of an incentive, some sort of a reason to bring people back to Freeport and the capital cities in general. So the question is, what can we do to bring people into Freeport? What can we change? So we sort of explored the reasons why, the barriers to, I guess, going into Freeport. There's a ton of zoning. Like if you think about all the different zones there are in Freeport, between the 6 hoods, the 4 adventure zones, the sewers, and the 4 hub zones. There's just a ton of different places you can be. So it's really spreads the player base apart. And that's one thing that we can sort of solve by consolidating the zones. It's got a confusing layout, and if you look at it from above, there's a lot of maze-like passages, especially in like the sewers. So we want to, kind of limit how often we send people in there, and for good reason. There's a lot of amenities in the city actually, but they tend to be hard to find, and they're spread out. You'll find things that are kind of important, like up in an inn on the 2nd floor inside a room. Which means that unless you're actively looking for it or you stumble across it, it's not really something you're around to find. And there's not a whole lot of relevant content there anymore, which makes sense. After a couple of expansions, the level 1 to 20 content really isn't that compelling. The level 30 or 40 stuff you can find in there doesn't stand out. Either that the rewards aren't good enough, or it's not along the golden path, and then there's not a lot of reason you would go there to do the content in Freeport. So as we mentioned earlier, one of the major steps we're taking is to consolidate the zones together, to take that north, south, east, west, and make that one. And that's going to function as the hub for Freeport. So when you're there in Freeport, you're waiting to do something else, you're probably going to be around other players. You won't be the only one in the zone. We're going to create zone lines off of the hub. I think this has been okay. So from the hub, you'll be able to get to any of the other zones. You won't have to zone multiple times to get to any of the content. We're going to create new amenities for Freeport that are city-specific. The stuff you wouldn't be able to find in the guild hall, we're going to put that in the city to give you a reason to go there and not just hang out in the guild hall. And the stuff that's there should be more centralized and more visible and easier to get to.
So also, the artists have gone through and made some aesthetic change, not just in the way that it looks, but we're removing and repurposing buildings, widening paths, taking some of the stuff out that has like lots and lots of geometry polygons, which, hey, I'm going through viewport, this is fun, and you just get caught up because you're loading every time you take a step. And a lot of that stuff's going to come out and then be replaced. So it should make Freeport perform a lot better, even though it's a much larger zone now.
And one of the things we looked into was kind of the feel of Freeport, like what kind of a feeling do you get from being in the city? And I think when it was originally designed, it was intended to be sort of like run down, sort of depressed, sort of depressing. It has that aesthetic where the trees are sort of dying, the city's crumbling, there's trash, and people living in tenements. And that was intended, but it sort of creates this feeling where it's kind of hard to feel any kinship with the city. It's hard to feel any pride or nationalism, basically, for the city.
You're a jerk, and everybody else is a jerk too.
Yeah. So the quest givers themselves tend to take advantage of you as the player. They'll spit on you. They'll tell you that the item you just brought back to them was so valuable that they're going to profit from your work, and you're getting nothing. and so there's generally a lot of just the NPCs taking advantage of the player.
Which would be fine if you could do it back.
Yeah. So talking about the aesthetic of Freeport, it's generally got like a brown and gray sort of color scheme. As you can see from the screenshot, if you were here yesterday, they showed the before and the after, and this is the before. They're basically slums. All of those are really run down. The NPCs are living in squalor. And the citizens themselves are just looking for a reason to kick dirt in your face and tell you that you're scum, like this guy, for instance. So the big question is, can we make Freeport an evil city without it feeling oppressive and depressing to the player, the person who's going through it? Yay!
Yes, you can.
So we've got a different look coming from the city. There's going to be banners that are flying to Lucan, banners that are flying for Freeport. The city's going to feel more alive. The player's going to feel sort of included in this change. So instead of the city being oppressive towards itself and having that kind of infighting and that civil war sort of experience that was going on before Lucan came back, the city will be unified and be oppressing everyone else. And you can be evil without being stepped on.
The one that's that.
Good, we got a screenshot of this. So this is one of the looks of the city with the new textures, the new art, the new color scheme. This isn't finalized by any means. This is just a concept basically, but this is kind of the way we're going with it. So lore-wise, the populace, instead of being oppressed by the militia, people will be getting pulled into it. They'll be part of the military structure. They'll be looking for people to be part of the industry, to be part of the program of Freeport, and sort of like organizing everyone so that they can militarize and mobilize. Lucan is back as a really strong leader. He's the one that can really bring the city together. He can stop all the infighting. He can motivate people both because he's an inspirational figure and because he's got fear on his side. If you're not with him, you're going to end up rotting in a cell somewhere or bleeding in an alley. And we want the players to feel like heroes in the part of the city and not being oppressed by the city itself. And we're going to talk about some of the content we've got coming up.
Yeah, so some of the idea to what's happening, like if you look at some of the more popular evil organizations or cities that you have, like the Empire. The Empire is not downtrodden. They don't live in squalor. Everything is gorgeous. Everything is polished. Everything looks nice. And they do that for a reason. They do that because it helps keep you the happy citizen in line. And so we want Freeport to be more of the Empire and less of just the slums, which is what it is right
and
now.
I think the best example someone came up with is that it kind of looks like Fidel Castro's Cuba, that kind of like an oppressive regime.
there's no way, like he was saying earlier, that you can take pride in something like that. We want you as an Eagle player to be like, I love Freeport, it's the best, rather than, I love Freeport, I'm a jerk. Because it doesn't.
Jump to the dark side.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I don't even know if they had cookies. I don't know So yeah.
So we're going to bring people back to the city. If you're following the Golden Path and you're evil, you're going to be coming through here. You'll be coming back to the city and doing quest lines that sort of tell the story of Freeport from the new regime's perspective.
Yeah, and from the various factions and races that exist in Freeport. So we want you to feel a little bit more. The thing that we thought was cool was making you feel like you're included rather than just working for the city. So you end up working more for the factions, the militia, the Dismal Rage, the Sea Fury Buccaneers. So you're actually going to talk to them, like interact more with them. We're planning on faction quests and stuff, so you actually will be like, I'm a member of the Sea Fury Buccaneers. It's awesome.
And you'll be learning more of their lore. We think that it was what was written originally for them was never really explained or never explicitly said.
Yeah.
It was just kind of understood by the writs you were being sent out to do, and didn't quite tell the story.
Yeah, that doesn't tell stories. That tells go kill 10 orcs.
Go kill 10 orcs.
And then we have racial quests. So we want the races, like right now, they kind of feel homogenous, and it would be nice if, like, you felt like, I'm a Ratonga, I'm awesome because of this, or I'm an Ixar, I'm awesome because of this. And we don't really do that right now.
There are some of those they're in the hoods now, but they are so low level that by the time most people can sense.
A lot of stuff, yeah, and they just skip them, so you don't even end up doing it.
Yeah, unless you go out of your way to run to Freeport at level 1 from whatever starting city you're at, you're not going to see that content.
Yeah. So we want you guys to, like, those quests are going to scale. So you can grab the racial quests and do them whenever you want. I'm an ogre and I'm awesome. Zach is the best.
And we've got the public quest system now, so we're going to put a public quest, a little level 1, in Commonwealth, just outside of Freeport. And get that.
Yeah, and what I really thought was cool that you guys had put into the public quest was the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
So that everyone can participate in this level 20 public quest.
Yeah. Did you want to comment on that?
That means no.
The guys at the end did that.
Yeah. So what we have coming up, your Beast Lord Prelude events. So we didn't want to just sort of put the Beast Lords in and be like, guess what, they're here, so there's going to be events, the first one's in 61. It's going to talk a little bit about what's happening, where the Beast Lords are coming from, where they've been since the Age of Turmoil, and how they're going to be reintroduced to Norak. That's a two-part story. So the first part will be 61, and then there'll probably be a content push someplace in the middle of 61, which tells the second half of that story as well. The Ratonga storyline isn't done. I want to continue to work on that and present that to players. The Free Blood went in without the content that I had wanted to do for it, and I still want to get that content in. So that Free Blood players can see what it is, where they came from, and the rest of you players can be like, that's what they are. Okay, that's rad, rather than, look, vampires. So, and they don't sparkle. So as an anecdotal story, we actually thought about putting an appearance item on them that made them sparkle. This will be funny until we realize we can murder. Like, I figure if I get through life without being murdered, I win. A lot of the races, I think, in the game haven't gotten a lot of attention. The trolls are one that I kind of feel like, in particular, like, they don't have a lot. Like, hey, I'm a troll and I regenerate, and I'm kind of ugly, and they also have really, they come across as dumb. But I kind of feel like, when I look back at troll history, trolls actually have a lot to be proud of. It's just that I don't think that we've done a good enough job of presenting that to players, so that troll players can go like, dude, I am descended from Yetsha, and I can kick your butt. And I feel like they should have more to be proud of. And I want to make sure that all the races have this.
But that goes along that's going to feed into a lot of the racial quests.
Right. Right. And but I want to make sure that all of the races are getting this type of a treatment, so that you, for example, like trolls, I'm bringing them forward as more of a spiritually powerful race, like ridiculously spiritually powerful. And if you look back at their history, they are. It's just, it's not anything that's really been touched on. They just look like idiots all the time, and they're not. And so it's going to be things like this. We want to go back and look through our history, see the things that we presented to you anecdotally or through explicit story that have said, like, this race does this, but it hasn't really been presented to you in a long time, and perhaps you've forgotten what it is. We have some races that are like that, like the Ixar. Those guys are awesome, and they are. The Ixar are probably the best race in EverQuest. Yeah. You would think so, but I thought those Ixar. Isn't the Lord the great? So, I want to make sure that other races are getting the same kind of treatment. So that's something we'll be doing here in the future. Oh, yes, the books. So I know that I wanted to have this in for 60, and we're now on 61. This is a side project, but I know that a lot of you book collectors, I haven't seen her here.
She was here yesterday. She had to go away.
Oh, did she? Okay, that's why I'm still alive. I'm working to get them all still done, but I'm basically all the books that are in the game. There's a lot of books that exist in our database that you don't have access to, and we also have books that exist in the database that have been removed that you can't get anymore. And so I want to make sure that all the books are brought up to the new format, and you can get a hold of all the books that you're supposed to have access to. And so that is, again, a side project. But I want to make sure that that is going in so you guys have all of that.
We do appreciate it when you read the lore, and so giving it to you is probably helpful.
Click, 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 click. All right, so just to bring you up to speed a little bit on the overarching story as of this far. So for those of you who did the signature line in Velius, this is basically the storyline you ran through. You go into the Tower of Frozen Shadow, deal with Serena, find out about the coalescence of life, recover the artifact after you Turban punch Grey Talk in the face. Turban punch. Right. Probably doing that from now on. You find that the dwarves are concerned about the materialization of Drunger. What? And then discover that Jelinek has moved to Thurgaden. He explains a little bit about what he's doing there, but he doesn't seem to care about the plight of the dwarves. He's like, you guys be done and then help me with my problem, because that's really what matters. You get to talk with Roman Fear, who explains to you a little bit about what he was doing, what his job is, calls you a jerk for killing him. And you find out that the dead swords actually could be revived. They're integral to the Age's End prophecy, and so, hey, wait a minute, maybe we can do something with these. And then you confront Kromzek in Kael Takal and defeat the Idol Ralozek, which allows you guys to enter Drunger. As a Children of War, which was the next step in the Sigmine, you defeat all the Daiku that were guarding the 3 Children of Zek, and allow them to, now they're free, they're no longer under thrall. This leads you to be able to set up the final confrontation with Ralozek. Once he's ready to materialize, open the door between his plane and Norad. And so you're going to go like, hey, check us out, we're going to kick you up. So, signature lines, as Smoke Jumper said yesterday, we're doing content releases on a quarterly basis after this. So signature line is going to continue, but it will be released largely the way the last 2 releases have been. So you'll get a piece or 2 on each release, but that story will continue. Like it'll be a thread that is basically the overarching story for all of NORAD the Age of Prophecy, whatever it is that's the main storyline, it'll be released on each content release so you can continue doing the signature line. Also, the signature line will continue to be, for now, heroic content. So that everyone, because I know in the past it's like, I have to raid in order to get the story. The raiders are doing click, 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 loot, and I'm the one reading your stuff and I can't even do it. So we want to go ahead and make sure that it's heroic so everybody has access to it. I think that's about it.
Alright, so in the next 9 months, we've got some upcoming live events. And so you see the top line, no, I'm sorry, I've got that over the next 6 months.
Your schedule just got shortened.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, thank you for getting back in.
The slide is right, I just misspoke. So we've got Returning Goddesses, Undead versus Flora, holiday-themed trade skill dungeon, which Frisnick spoke about if you went to the trade skill panel, and some new mount contests. I'd like to say that, new mount races, but then you get that confused with a new type of mount. No, these are contests, much like the Ether races, but we would love them to incorporate leapers and gliders and different types of mounts. So there you get a little hint of the Undead versus Flora. It's just a little fun thing that's going to be coming with Knights of the Dead. So it's nothing that's in your game. It's nothing, really that's going to be seen out in the world at all. It's just a little side little dungeon fun thing to do.
There's a couple zombies on the lawn there.
What? And then there's another picture to give you a little idea of the holiday-themed trade skill dungeon that Frisnick is working on. And the new mount contests. So that was just a screenshot to illustrate what I was trying to say.
Okay, and then now we're on to Q&A. So anybody have any questions? Come on up to the microphone. How much time do we have?
20 minutes.
Yeah, actually, I was wondering, you're going to be getting more content about races and stuff. So when the Beast Wars come out, are the preliminary orders for the Beast Wars going to be geared towards the race? Like, for instance, giant battle
That's still an
dragon?
ongoing conversation, but exactly how you start with your order, when it's going to be, what it is still in discussion.
But you are the one doing Beast Lord quests.
Yeah, so the first... Okay, so you're going to find out basically those first orders that you're familiar with. There's going to be content released that sort of explains those specifically. And so hopefully it'll give you a little bit of lore as to what's going on. But as for which ones you'll start with, that hasn't been determined yet.
For raid quests, there was only one this expansion, and I understand the whole point of signature quests being heroics, that everybody gets to see it, but I kind of like to know why I'm killing random giants. Like, I'm just going into a zone, there's nothing to say why I'm killing these people. Just go in and kill
Oh,
them.
you want, okay, you're talking about, you want like in Expansion 6, we had that progressive weight raid quest thing, you want to see something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. It didn't really seem like it was adding. Well, I mean, if you guys want it, it's certainly something we can think about doing.
The Tier 2 Guild Hall in Freeport is an issue. If you're on low graphics, things don't render for a long time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a
Doesn't that happen?
that's a lore reason. No, yeah, no, unfortunately, that's not something that I have an answer to immediately, but we can write it down and certainly bring it up.
Flying in Neriac or Majul?
Tim's not here, so I can't ask, but I'll write that one down and ask about that too.
Please, thank you. I just have two quick questions. The first one being, I know you guys are revamping Freeport. In that revamp, how much is the relationship between Freeport and Neriac going to be more expanded on?
Like you're
It'll be touched on.
Oh yeah. So you've got Dark Elves and the Prince Vex was there, and that's where the uprising started. And so now that Christanos knows that he was there, and she's going to be sending in more of her people to make sure that that does not happen again.
So that actually opens a bigger issue. Each one of the hoods, we're planning to have inclusive storylines. And we want each one of those to give a piece of the overall storyline to what's happening in Freeport. And that is one of them.
Long Shadow Alley will have its story told.
Yeah, so that will be touched on.
Cool, Mark, that's all. That sounds great. The second question is just not to bring up the game, but Dragon Age and Dragon Age 2, they have a very good system to where you get to like gain and store lore. Like you'll go into the game and you'll like find these pages or books or what have you, and you get to store these pieces of lore information in like a different tab. I was wondering if we could do something like
So the
that.
storyline window was supposed to be that. Unfortunately, with scheduling, we weren't able to implement it the way that we really wanted it to be. We want to take another look at the storyline window so that it's more inclusive for things just like that.
The storyline window is good. I mean, it's all right as it is.
It's all right. It's just not exactly.
It's not exactly what we were looking for in regards to that kind of thing. But again, you go out to the world, you'll like maybe click a door, or maybe after you kill a mob, he'll drop like a note or something that gives you information about who he was, what he was doing, and things like that. So just food for thought. And just to echo the one Raider's opinion there, I really liked the Sentinel's Fate raid line quest because it kind of told you why you were fighting Fear and all that. I get that people want to be able to do it as heroic. Maybe we could do like a parallel thing where you get a quest for the heroics and it gives them all the information as well as the stuff for raiding.
That was the good thing about that particular quest, is that it was sort of inclusive to what was happening on Otis, not necessarily what was happening in the overall storyline, right? And so that can still be done. So like I said, if that's something you guys really like and you guys want, we can do it going forward. But bear in mind that once we're doing progressive releases, your raid quest will be like, go kill that guy, because there's one raid. So,
as long as their background knows why we're killing that one guy, that helps.
Yeah,
that's
a little
fine.
explanation
Yeah, no,
as
that's
to why
fine.
you're doing it.
And that's why it's a good suggestion. We have no problem doing that.
Sorry, but I don't know what I said too. That was the great second.
Oh, it's the worst.
You touched a little bit upon this, but with the villages becoming instances, will the existing racial quest lines, especially with some of those furniture rewards, will those be staying around as well as some of the other quests in those villages and the existing Freeport quests?
So we're looking at what exists, what we can salvage, and most of those quests need to be updated. They need to be updated because things have changed since they were initially released.
Like they don't tell the current storyline they're going to be telling, or the rewards need to be updated, or.
But those furniture rewards and stuff, yeah, we still want you to have access to those kinds of things. But it's definitely all of the content there. He's gone through, this guy's insane. He's gone through quest by quest, every quest that touches Freeport and every zone in Freeport, and we're going through and evaluating what we're going to be keeping, what's going to be updated, and what's going to get removed. And so it's a long process that we're still parsing through.
Yeah, just as a bit of trivia, there are 569 quests that touch on the Freeport zone. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
That was the word.
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep the ones that we need to keep. Anything that's heritage related, signature related. Yeah.
And anything that we can update and make it part of the current lore is what we're going to do.
And how will the revamp also affect like the sprawl and the newbie adventure zones that are right now geared towards like 1 to 10? And
Right. Yeah.
Are those also are they going to be raising level, or will they be staying
Unfortunately,
now?
there's only 3 of us,
You're looking at it.
and we can't do all of it.
So
We can't redo all of Freeport, all the hoods, and the adventure yards at the same time.
So
We have to focus where we've got the time and actually make what we're changing good, instead of thinning it out and just saying it's changed.
yeah.
So those will be staying pretty much the same for now?
As they are
For
right
now,
Yeah.
When I first booted up EverQuest 2 way back in the day, the opening segment was that you were on a ship, and there was all this wonderful water effects, if you remember those, and there was a wonderful voiceover and everything, right?
Yeah.
My point was that eye candy of the water effects and everything being on ship immediately
The boat rocking and
hooked me into the game. And it seems like that content in the game where you're actually on a ship, you know, there's a couple old quests that are still around where you can go here, you can go there, that kind of thing. I don't know if there's any thought of perhaps introducing some of that because...
Well, if you did a live event for Bristol Rain Day, you were back on that boat.
That's true, yes.
We do try to reuse it because that was a really dynamic song.
Yeah.
So yeah, you probably will see it again.
Okay,
We thank you.
I actually have two quick questions. One was the concept of infinity. I like to decorate houses a lot and using mirrors to correct items. It adds a lot of dynamics to it, but if you happen to have two mirrors and they black out, it kind of, I mean, I know that would create a lot of overhead and pretty much just like...
Yeah, it's how the art system is built to handle the mirrors and fake for reflection. And that's what you're talking about, like two mirrors reflecting one another?
Yeah. It's just completely impossible. Is there any way that instead of creating like the infinity effect, just maybe in the reflection of the mirror, instead of blocking the entire mirror out, block the reflection of the mirror out instead, so that it doesn't destroy the entire picture?
That would actually be a really good question to hit Alex up when you see him around. He was on the last panel and will probably be here for the Q&A for next panel. He's our graphics programmer and he could definitely take a look at something.
Yeah.
And the other question was, you guys keep talking about the Beast Boards. Are they going to be a race that you have to buy like the pre-buds, or are they going to be like the Pro Box where you do a quest and one with your account?
No, Beast Swords is part of the expansion.
Yeah, the expansion content.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a class.
When you apply the changes to Freeport, will that change the houses also? Like mine's in North Freeport, will it still be there, or will I have to?
Yeah, it's like part of the change to this is we have to make sure that everyone can still access their house. So all the doors to all of the housing should be there in that one hub city.
It might be cleaned up a little bit. Tim, our zone lead artist, is looking at, particularly if you've got a house that's in one of the hoods though, like because the hoods are now going to be instanced, that doorway is not going to be the door that leads to your house anymore. It's going to have to be within the main of Freeport. So there is going to have to be some trimming down of doors, and that's unfortunate for those people who are really used to just living in their hood, and I was one of them, so I understand, but we can't have you accessing an instance to then access your house.
Right. Okay.
I have a couple of questions. First, I saw up there that there was something about goddesses coming back, or new goddesses. Can you tell us who that was?
You saw that?
I was on right there.
What are you doing?
Returning goddesses, right there. Now, who is that?
So there are two goddesses that have never been seen in EQ2 live. So they will be making an appearance within the next 6 months.
Both of them?
Correct.
Wonderful. The second question I have is for mechanically good-aligned people with the neighborhoods being instances and all these changes. Are they going to have problems sneaking around Freeport?
Good question.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, I come from the Antonio Vale server, there's a lot of interaction with people sneaking in and out of cities. Is this going to be a problem for us now?
I actually had someone give a really good idea probably a couple hours ago in the main room of, well, if I'm good aligned and I get, let's say, a rentable illusion, even after a long quest or something, and I work hard to get it, can I then get into Freeport and just see the new pretty? And so we'll be exploring different ways that we can get you to be able to sneak in there. Maybe that's not the way that it'll turn out. This is the first time these guys have heard of it.
Yeah.
I just heard that idea. But we do want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, because right now, in some sections of Freeport, you have to be really, really careful. Even if mostly 90s can get through with NVIS, but anything under 90 can't. because they we pop through sewers, go around, so that is something that would be a concern for us.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah. I guess I better now. I'll have to see if we can preserve that gameplay.
Thank you.
Allow you to run the city. Sure.
Quick question, nothing major, but just kind of curious, are you including in your plans for the racial quest lines, any of the races that maybe aren't native to Freeport, that aren't natively evil?
Oh, no, if you can play it in Freeport, it's going to be a race. A race quest. The ones that wouldn't be getting them are Bay and, I mean, for the time being. What we're doing in Freeport is what we plan to mirror in Kinos.
Right.
So the race quests that are going in are whatever race you can start in Freeport as.
I guess what I'm asking is those that betray. It's like, say, for instance, like High FSK.
Right, no. The betrayers, they have their own story. I'm like, hey, take that, Antonia Vale, I'm leaving. They don't have a place to live there. They're not part of that ecology. They just moved there because they're evil.
With the new racial quests, like the lower level ones, I presume that they'll only be done by that race.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So we've actually talked about that because we put a lot of time into quests for one person to do one time, and it's not a good transfer of investment versus you guys playing. We've got a couple of ideas, but we think what we want to do is have it so that this is open content. But we haven't, that's still discussion that's on the board, but we definitely, excuse me?
Yeah, there's definitely the trade-off there. Right?
What's that? Yeah, we need to talk, but we are discussing how we're going to present this to you.
But there's another aspect of that. You don't need to just do, even if the race requests are only by that one race, we don't want that story to be locked away. So let's say that the Arasai are there because Queen Kristanos has sent them over there to make sure that Prince Vex is no longer recruiting. We want you to see, get a little hint, and see that they're there without having to be an Arasai.
Well, because I know it would be great for you. I mean, I could conceivably buy a race change potion for every single one and go through. True. That's a lot of money for me. But, I mean, it could be done, but I want to avoid that.
That gives me a job. Everybody looked at you, Dave.
That could be quite the achievement, too. That you do all the racial quests.
All the race quests.
It's an option. No, actually, let me just talk to
Well, they requested it at Fan Faire.
No, whoa.
One of the reasons for the racial quest is for alcoholics, so that when you do come back and play again, there's different options available. So if you do want to play that with one character and buy race change potions, well, that's cool, but that's not what we set it up for.
Yeah, there's definitely a give and take there. Like, we can make content a little more personal and more tailored to your character, or we can make more content available and you give a little bit of one, you take a little bit of the other. It's about like that.
Now, at the beginning, you said something about the NPCs belittling the PCs.
Yes.
We're going to keep that in there, right?
Yeah, I think
I'd
there's
like
definitely,
to call the trees out there myself.
There's definitely a place for that in the zone. I just think it was a little bit too prevalent. You were getting kicked in the face a little bit too much by the NPCs you were supposed to be working for.
Yeah, and I'm,
you know, like what else SK likes being called a tree hugger? It'd just be nice if we could belittle them back.
That's the point I want to make.
Yes.
Along that line, I want to thank, having started the game out as a Ratanga in Temple Street, and all the cats hissing at me, I want to thank the person who gave me the ability to kill all those cats. In the beginning, you want to be able to later on, because I just go back sometimes, even now, at level 90, just kill every cat I see. So thank you.
Oh my god!
Now, it'd be like that old, what is it, Gondel fish? The one fish that can harm touch you or whatever.
This is kind of a waste of a question, admittedly, but in Freeport, a long time ago, there used to be a lady who was convinced that she was Antonia Vale.
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Can we get that lady back?
It's so funny. This has happened a couple of times where said something amongst ourselves, and when the players are like, this would be a great idea, we're like, oh man, now they're going to think we took it from them. She's still around, and she will be around.
She seems like such a fun character.
She's
that
hilarious.
that's a loss of potential if you didn't use her.
Yeah.
I think Atolia Dom is his name, right? Yeah.
Now you do.
I have a two-part question and 2 quick comments. The first question is about beast lords. Are we going to get species-specific?
That's what he asked.
Oh,
Somebody asked the first thing, and we have that discussion still on the board. I don't know exactly what's the word.
Tonga should get wood elves.
No, Tonga should get the Freeport cats.
The 2 comments. The first one is I love the Plants vs. Zombies up there. That is just awesomeness. And the second one is goes out to my guildies. I'm not wearing pants.
Dude, people turn and look. You have an answer for it already?
Hey, thanks for coming. Come on up.
Rachel Warden.
You're going to be able to go out and play different orders, so there's not going to really be you might start out with a particular order and end up doing it that way based on your race, but you'll be able to get them all regardless, because you can actually switch out orders, things like that. So hopefully that's
collect them all. I choose you.
You're going to use your choke ball?
You're not using your choke ball.
does it look like you guys are
sad right now? I guess we're about that.
There we go. Yay. So you guys are talking about mercenaries, collecting them around the world. How is that going to happen? Is it going to be all public places, cities, villages, things like that where you get them? Are they going to drop in raid zones or instances?
The majority of the mercenaries will be found in the cities. We want to make Freeport and Kinos have a major hub for mercenaries, but they will be located in most cities. The signature or the lore-specific mercenaries you might find out in the world, but the typical, just run-of-the-mill mercenaries that you want to use day to day are going to be found in the cities.
So you wouldn't see Antonia Vale or Lucan Bleer dropping as a mercenary in a raid zone?
No.
No, you cheer on the corner buyer for 1,000 plat an hour.
Somebody said earlier he has to fund Freeport somehow.
I got another one. At the end of the Sentinel State expansion, you go fight Roman Clear and you go free Lucan from the prison, but Lucan says, hey, my sword's useless, I'm going to hang around a little bit and see what's going on. And he kind of stays there and you leave. It was also mentioned at the address that it was Antonia Vale that freed Lucan. So what kind of...
Well, she sends the good guys basically on there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her that basically is like, look, Freeport's falling apart without Lucan. We can storm in and go to war and murder people, or we can bring Freeport back because the lesser of two evils.
Right, there was that quest line where, the Void was kidnapping people and possessing them, and you go and actually listen in on the conversation that they have saying, we're going to go help free Lucan. So she sends like the good line players to go raid with the evils to go. Right. So that's how that's linked up.
That's where that linked up.
That makes sense. Thanks.
I think we're about to go. So that's it for the for the content lore panel. Thanks for everyone for attending.